the News Channel 5 network, this is MorningLine with Nick Beres.
Good morning, everyone. Nick Beres here. This is MorningLine. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday. Good show. We're going to open up the phone lines. It always gets busy when we talk Social Security because we're here to help you and try to answer some of your questions. Many of you may be dealing with the issue of Social Security disability, SSI, maybe contemplating if and when you want to take your retirement, early, late, and the difference in doing that. And if you're in the process of applying for some benefit and having problems, we can discuss whether or not you do it on your own or if you should seek the help of an attorney. There are attorneys out there that do this as well, and how all of that works. But we'll take your phone call, 737-7587, if you want to join in. We do this every month. We've been doing it for years, and I think over the years we've helped literally thousands of people. And all of us, at one point or another, are going to deal with it, and no one's better at answering your questions than Josh Horn with Social Security.
Hey, good morning.
It's good to have you on, sir.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, we do pride ourselves on working with folks from birth, and when we assign them a Social Security number, and then through life and through disability and through their retirement decisions, and then of course then at the end of life and working with survivor cases
from day one. Think about that. You get that. Now you literally assigned. How does that work, by the way? I'm curious. When my son was born, or when I was born, or when you were born, okay, when does that number come to you, and how is it the government finds out you exist?
Yeah, and that's actually a great question. It's actually a pretty frequent question that we receive in the office. And so when you're in the hospital, of course, there's so much going on with the delivery of the baby and so forth. But one of the things that the mother does is fill out one of the forms that she's filling out is the Social Security
is that right? So
number form.
It was brought to my wife because I don't remember having anything to do with it. But then the card arriving, how much after the fact?
Yeah, and it usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks afterwards for the actual card to arrive. And so for some folks that are needing it very quickly, that can be a little bit of an issue. The reality is that the number can actually be assigned within a week or two oftentimes, but then the card sometimes takes a little while. So individuals who, for tax purposes or whatever else, insurance purposes, may need the number a little bit more quickly, they can come down and visit us. We might be able to get them that number a little bit quicker. I'm not making any promises. Than the actual card, which is mailed centrally from Baltimore.
That is interesting. So it's standard in the packet of paperwork that the mother probably will fill out. In the unlikely event, and this is not as frequent obviously, but there are people out there that someone chooses to do a home birth and they live out in the country or in the mountains and they're kind of cut off and just maybe they have a farm out there and they don't. If you're born and those forms aren't filled out, there could be someone walking around out there without a Social Security number.
And we do occasionally actually deal with that, like you said, some folks that are in the remote parts of the country or some things like that. But more often than not, somebody who's born at home or a non-traditional methods, and then they come in a few weeks later, or they can come in whenever, bring that birth certificate from the state, and we can get that process started for them at that point.
That would really be off the grid, and that's the thing. Sooner or later, you're going to have need for that if you choose to work and it's some form of identification for yourself. But if you really wanted to stay off the grid, I wonder if there's got to be someone out there that doesn't have a Social Security that forever has never been on the grid.
And at some point, like you said, at some point they need it.
Yeah, I guess you would at some point need it. Well, I can go on that one, but that's just interesting. All right, listen. Before we get to some of the phone calls, and lines are open, we just did yet another story on what appears to be another scam where folks are misrepresenting themselves as being with Social Security. You say that your office, and across the country probably, has been flooded with questions from recipients or Social Security folks, just the general public, saying they're getting these crazy calls.
Right, in just the last several months, it just seems to have ballooned, and the Office of Inspector General, which kind of oversees this type of suspicious activity, has been sending the field offices and the Social Security employees a lot of information, trying to keep the local field offices informed of the different devices that these fraudsters are using. One of the main things that you've heard about or seen possibly is that they're copying or mimicking the phone numbers with the caller ID, and there are apps out there that folks can change what comes across as the caller ID, and so they're actually using the national 1-800 number as the caller ID, which, by the way, will never come across if we're the ones actually calling, because it's our outbound phone numbers are all different. Now, oftentimes it'll say U.S. government, but it's not it's not the 800 number specifically, and so that's one thing that they're doing, making you think that it's the Social Security number. So the best thing to do if you get one of these suspicious phone calls is that you can report it to the Office of Inspector General, the OIG hotline. That number, I think we may even be able to put it up on the screen here in a bit.
There it is.
Is 1-800-269-0271. And just a reminder that we're not going to be reaching out to you if you haven't initiated anything and asking for a bunch of personal information, and particularly what is your Social Security number. We have that information.
That's one of the scams now, where they're saying your number has been compromised, we're going to change it. They're trying to get your number is what they're trying to do, and maybe even ask you for some money, and so that's not going to happen.
No, and we're not going to threaten you either. There's a lot of these folks that are threatening, trying to coerce you into providing that information. The only times that we're going to be reaching out to you and trying to verify some information is if you have initiated some kind of action, such as filing an online Social Security application, and we need to verify that you are who you are before we actually hit the button, or something along those lines. But just to out of the blue call you and threaten, and we're never going to threaten you or be asking for that information, is just not going to happen. And again, you can always call the OIG hotline, or you can call your local Social Security office, and we can look into your record and see if there's actually anything that needs to be done.
Yeah, they also call me, or you can Facebook me at Nick Beres NC5 on Facebook. I get that a lot, and I always talk about with them what it is and go over it with folks and then put their mind at ease. And I'm no expert, but it doesn't take an expert to know any of these calls, whether it's from Social Security or anyone else, is a hoax, period, end of story. And it is, you make a great point that you can look at your ID and think, oh, okay, yeah, it is from Social Security. Even then, no matter how convincing and slick these guys are, they are slick. They're going to sound good. They're going to make it. They're going to have personal information on you, and you're going to wonder, well, it has to be Social Security. These days, you'd be amazed what people can dig up on you online, Googling your name and everything else. But the best thing, if you're really, really, really thinking, well, maybe that was, say, listen, okay, I'll get back to you, and hang up, and then get the Social Security number and call them yourself, the local district. Say, hey, did you guys reach out to me? And they're going to tell you, no, we didn't. All right, so please, folks, and share this with your friends. And I get calls, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of them I've gotten recently are from seniors who are on fixed incomes, and it does scare them when they think their Social Security is in jeopardy. So I understand why that worries them, and so they want to make sure that they're, and I understand, do not fall for it. I guarantee you, it is a hoax, every single time.
And oftentimes they're saying that it's a very prominent person in the Social Security, the commissioner or the person over OIG. I mean, these high-ranking officials, and they're not going to reach out to you directly. Yeah, I mean, that's just not going to happen.
I think they got other things to do. Well, it's like some of these law enforcement ones, the Sheriff's Department, they scare you. Social Security is a big, scary agency, holds on to your money. Sheriff's Department, now, people are getting calls right now, Josh, where they say, you have an outstanding warrant. If you don't arrange payment right now with me over the phone, deputies will be over to arrest you later today. That's the kind of stuff. And they say that to some sweet old lady who's at home who thinks it's an official call, and it scares them. Which is why I would like to catch the individuals involved. And you know what that phrase is, where you get medieval on someone? That's what I do. I'm not going to go into graphic detail here, but the people who commit these types of crimes deserve to be punished severely. And I'm not against the idea of inflicting a little bit of pain. So be it. There it is. I said it. Problem is, these clowns never get caught because they're cowards doing it on the phone. Just don't be fooled by it. Do not fall for it, period. Anything else you want to touch on before we start getting to some of the phone calls?
That's one of the main things I wanted to mention today. I will also mention, as we kind of normally do at some point, is that one of the best ways to conduct business with us, what's the most fastest growing preferred method for doing business with Social Security, is our website and creating an online Social Security account. So you can go to socialsecurity.gov, and up in the corner it says create or log in, and you can click that button and create an account today, and you can take a look, make sure your earnings history is all accurate, that there's nothing, no issues with there. If you're already drawing benefits, you can do simple things like change of address and change phone number and change direct deposit, things like that, so that you don't have to wait in line or wait on the phone, anything like that. And so I do encourage you to go online, even today, even if you're not drawing yet. Go ahead and establish that, take a look around, and make sure everything looks good so that you'll be prepared whenever you are ready to file.
I told you, my folks just moved, and then, well, they moved a while ago, but they still had their Social Security checks going to a bank in their old bank. And now I flew out since you were last on, and we went online, and I created a My Social Security account for both my dad and my mother, and we arranged by going on there. You have to answer some security questions to get through it, to make sure they know who you are. And then we were able to transfer through the banking numbers the account. So now, and I haven't been back on to make sure it's happened. Does it take about 30 days when you do that?
Usually just a couple days.
Couple days. Okay, well, we've made the transition now from their bank. So now the direct deposit for their Social Security checks will go to their new bank in Boise, where they live now. And it was very easy. It was great. Boy, talk about doing it that way as opposed to on the phone or going to the bank. Boom, right there, and it transferred. So anyway, he's right. So it's a great thing to sign up for one of those pages. Listen, we'll take a break. When we come back, some phone lines open, others filling up. Cynthia, call back. She was on hold, but we'll get to her. We also have Cheryl and others. The rest of the show, Josh Horn will try to answer your questions for Social Security right after this. We'll be right back.